Would you like to live within a system that encourages education for women?
Yes.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, of course.
Would you like to live within a system that gives you same salary as a man when you both do the same job?
Yes.
Yes?
Of course. Yes, that's very important.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, of course. Yes. Okay. Would you like to live within a system that guarantees your separate financial identity after marriage?
No.
Yes, separate, yes.
Interesting questions. I think that it should be independent on everybody's wish.
If you want to.
Yes. A signature. I mean, you sign a paper and you keep the money on both ways.
Yes, of course.
Would you like to live within a system that gives a housewife, mother, and a working woman the same appreciation?
I am for that.
Definitely.
Yes, of course.
Of course.
Okay. Yes?
Yes.
Sure, that'd be great if that existed. I think it would be important, and but I don't know any system that works like that.
Would you like to live within a system that does not encourage divorce, yet still, if you cannot go anymore, it allows you to have it without any financial loss?
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Yes, that is the right way.
It's quite obvious now that all interviewed women, though from different parts of the world, yet still, they almost have the same demands. But why are these demands rising up? What made these demands rise up? And how did the life of women look before these ages? These are questions that need answers. Let's start from the beginning. If we had a quick glance at the past to see how women's status differed from place to place, from civilization to another, thousands of years ago, we will find that women's status has always been an issue. While in some places they had fair limits of rights, like in the Pharaonic Empire, they lacked a lot in other places. But the most noticed thing is that there has always been some lost rights. It's quite a huge study to mention all about women in all eras. Yet still, some common facts were noticed that can give us an overview about these ages. For example, women had no authority to manage their own money, in case they owned any. And that was the dominant case almost all over the world. In the Roman Empire, women and their money were the property of their husband. Same case for English women. All real property which a wife held at the time of marriage became a possession of a husband. While in India, the rule of inheritance was agnatic, that is, descent traced through males to the exclusion of females. The case wasn't anyhow better than its equivalent among the Chinese or the Arab tribes. But detailed facts were not exactly the same everywhere. In different places, we find different situations. In Persia, the status of women was better than Roman, Greek, Chinese or Indians. The Persian woman owned property and had her own private seal. When it comes to work, records indicate that some professions were undertaken by both sexes, while others were restricted to either male or female workers. And females could become supervisors. These supervisors managed women, children, and sometimes men working in their units. They usually received high rations of wine and grains exceeding all the other workers in the unit, including the males. New mothers and pregnant women received high rations. The extra payment were given out for 1 month only. If they delivered boys, both the mother and the nurse or the physician received twice the amount compared to the mother of a baby girl. Sons were clearly preferred over daughters. However, there is no evidence of infanticide for girls. And as all old civilizations were patriarchal, polygamy and concubines existed. Moreover, a Persian husband could command his wife to die. Talking about the Arab lands doesn't mean that we will talk about a whole set. In old ages, the Arab lands were just the Arabian Peninsula. They lived in different tribes, each had its own laws and regulations. While some of them allowed some practice for females in social life, most of them treated women as property and slaves. They could not own property and had no right to inherit. The birth of a daughter in a family was not an occasion for rejoicing, but was regarded with humiliation. The practice of killing female children was rampant almost among all Arab tribes. In some Arab tribes, after the death of the father, his sons shared his wives, same as they shared his property. For most of the Arabs, women's personal consent concerning anything related to their well-being was considered unimportant. They were never even treated as a party to a marriage contract. Greek women shared that point with Arab women. They had no right to consent to marriage, same as Chinese or Indian women, while as divorce was an exclusive right for men in all old civilizations. The Roman woman had that right to consent to marriage, not to divorce. As a matter of fact, consenting to marriage was a must to get married. But she had to pay the dowry to her man. A Roman wife had no property of her own, and anything given or bequeathed to her after marriage was absorbed in her husband's property. While he could divorce her, she could not divorce herself. And the worst part was that unmarried women between 30 and 50 had to pay penalty. Jane F. Gardner, in her book Women in Roman Law and Society, is telling us that the probability of a man dying without a son to survive him was big and scary, which encouraged divorce to allow serial marriages. In China, as marriage was a must even for the souls of their children, fathers cared much to guarantee their daughters good marriages. One of the ways practiced in that was foot binding process. Literally, it's the restructuring of the foot by breaking the arc and 4 toes on both feet. Foot binding meant that she cannot adequately perform agricultural labor, which would guarantee her a marriage from a higher class man. For local classes, after marriage, an ancient Chinese woman would serve her husband like a slave. If the husband of a young Chinese woman died, she was not allowed to remarry. Death penalty was given if she remarried. And after his death, she would be passed on as inheritance, like all his property. In India, the woman was born to serve her men folks before and after marriage. She was forced to worship her husband. After his death, she had no right to live and was forced to be burned alive at his pyre. If she had no issue from him, she was forced to lie with his brothers to get pregnant. It seems like all books of history share the same concept, that the Egyptian pharaonic model for women was a very good one. Women had the right to work in spite of her major role at home, which was highly respected, either as a housewife or for childcare. She was a great support for men at work. She had free financial identity and very high respect as a wife. Critics suspect that polygamy was practiced in some cases, but it was not the dominant case as it was in most of the other civilizations out of Rome. Egyptian and Babylonian women served and participated in running of temples designated for female deities, and they shared in ritual ceremonies. These were images of how women lived during old eras generally.